والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, today we'll start the new chapter of Riadulsaleheen, the long chapter of, what was the last chapter that we went through? We went over like 20 weeks, the chapter of sabr, right? Because sabr, that's the longest chapter in the book. So man has to be patient in this world. Humans have to be patient in this world. It's all sorts of different types of sabr that need to be displayed at different times and in different situations. So now we come to the next chapter, and this is Babun fi Sidq. What does Sidq mean? Truth. The chapter of truthfulness. This is short. It's only 5 ahadith or so. But the conception of truth that we have sometimes is limited. Usually when we think of truth, we think of the word truth to refer to speech. If I say something accurate, then it's true. And if I say something false, then it's a lie. So for example, this last week I was in England. So if I said I was in England, then I'm saying the truth. If I said I went to Umrah, it's a lie, right? That's what we limit it to. We limit truth to. But truth goes beyond that. One level of truth is our speech. After that, there's truth in our intentions, our resolutions within our heart. There's truth in that as well. What do I mean? Sometimes a person, they begin some task. Like let's say that you begin a business, okay? And you say that if I hit this amount of sales in this year, I will give X amount of money to the masjid, right? I will build such and such. I will give this % of my income to this cause. This is an example. Many of us, we have many other things, okay? If I pass this test, right, then I will, I'll fast a day or something. We have these thoughts. So now when a person has an intention that if such and such thing happens, I will do it. And then the opportunity presents itself. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows that thing to happen, when your goal is met, are you actually going to live up to what you had promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now there's 2 levels of this. One is when a person takes a nazar, or in Urdu we say mannat, when a person says it verbally. So a person says, Ya Allah, if I pass this test, I will fast for 3 days, right? If a person does that, it's wajib, they have to do it. They have to fast those 3 days. Keep in mind though, when it comes to nazar, there's 2 things. Number 1, when a person makes a nazar or a mannat, it's only valid when it is something, or when the mannat is being made for something that is already fard in the sharia. What I mean by that is salat, it's fard, right? Namaz is fard. So a person can say that if I go home and if there's biryani for me, then I'll pray 10 rakats of shukrana namaz. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. Because namaz, salat, it's fard. So you can make a mannat of doing nafil salat as well. Similarly, giving sadaqah, like zakat, it's fard. So a person can say, if I go home and if there's biryani, I will give $100. It's like the paradise biryani, right? The paradise is the famous restaurant. Yeah. Okay. Then again, because giving zakat, giving money, it's fard in one form, so you can give sadaqah. That's a valid manna. Similarly, if a person says, if I go home and there's biryani, I want to eat so much, I will be roza for 3 days, right? Afterwards. Again, because fasting is okay in Ramadan, is fard in Ramadan, it's okay to make a manna. But if you say that, okay, if I promised Allah that if I go home and there's biryani, I will go and I will stand in the sun for 20 minutes. No, that doesn't do anything. I'll do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups to burn it off. No, these aren't valid mannats, right? Valid nazar. Why? Because those things are not fard in the sharia. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing is when it comes to nazar, there's a hadith in which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says to the effect, don't try to, I don't want to say bribe, but don't try to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do something. Allah subhanahu Ya Allah, if you do this for me, then I'll do salat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need our salat. Allah doesn't need our zakat. Allah doesn't need our fasting. We need it, right? So he said, Ya Allah, if you do this for me, then I'll worship you, Ya Allah. That's not right. I mean, if you do it, you have to fulfill it, but that's not something that we should do. The other thing is when a person doesn't say anything verbally, but they think in their heart, right? Now, if you were to go to a Mufti and ask them, like, I thought to myself that if I go home, if there's biryani there, I'm going to pray Shukrana namaz. Do I have to do it? Is it wajib? I'm going to say no, it's not wajib. But you should do it. Why? Because this is being truthful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your iradat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He refers to this in the Quran, and I'll come to that ayah in a minute, okay? So this is what sidq is, this is what truthfulness is. There's another word that's related to sidq that we think a lot when it comes to being truthful. Does anybody know what that word is? Ikhlas, sincerity, right? Ikhlas and sincerity. So these things, they go hand in hand. So a great scholar named Allama Qushayri, he said, he wrote a risala, and the commentator of it, his name is Sheikh Zakaria Ansari, I believe. So in there, what he says is that ikhlas, it emanates from truth. Truth is the actual, truth is the base. Sidq is the base. And ikhlas, it's a branch of truthfulness. Because ikhlas, sincerity, can only be seen when the action is in progress, right? If I'm thinking that I'm going to do something for someone, that's not really sincerity. The sincerity is going to be displayed when I do that action, and I do it just for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person has a thought in their heart, makes an intention, I'm going to do such and such thing. Now the opportunity comes, and they actually begin that action. By doing it, they're displaying their ikhlas. If they do that action for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sincerity, or with the thought that I said that I thought that I was going to do this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That makes sense, right? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so now, as Imam Nawawi does at the beginning of every chapter in this book, he begins with some ayat of the Quran. قال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. Sorry. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that, O believers, ittaqullah, be aware, fear, be cognizant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqwa, we can say, on one level, it's to protect yourself. On another way to describe it, you can say a person has so much love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they fear doing anything that will cause this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to weaken even a bit. So you can say fear, love, being aware. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen, and be with the sadiqeen, the truthful people, right? Does anybody remember who this ayah was revealed about? It actually came in Riadulsaleheen. Anybody remember? Yes, mashallah. وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا, the three people who stayed back in the battle of Tabuk. What were their names? Do you remember that? Ka'b bin Malik. He's the one that narrated the hadith. Who are the other two? Huh? Yes, good. Umayyah bin Hilal, flip. And? You tell me next week. Inshallah. So this way you won't forget it. Alright? So you all tell me next week. Who are the three people who stayed behind? So two of them we got, right? We got Ka'b bin Malik and we got Umayyah bin Hilal. There's one more. Everybody always forgets his name. So homework is for next week, inshallah. Tell me, that way you won't forget it, inshallah. Okay? So this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be with the truthful people. Because when you're with the people of truth, inshallah, this quality will come into you as well, right? Truth in speech, truth in intention, and then sincerity in action. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was-sadiqeen was-sadiqat. Allah says, and the truthful men and the truthful women. Salama radiyallahu anha, she said to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, many ayat are in the Quran about men. What about women? Do women get the reward? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah. It has 10 qualities, and each of them mentioned male and female. Innal muslimina wal muslimat, wal mu'minin wal mu'minat, wal qanitin wal qanitat. Qanitin means obedient. Was sadiqeen was sadiqat. This is what Imam Nawawi brings over here. Then was-sabirina was-sabirat, patience. Wal-khashi'ina wal-khashi'at, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being in awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal-khashi'ina wal-khashi'at, wal-mutasaddiqina wal-mutasaddiqat, those who give charity. Was-sa'imina was-sa'imat, those who fast. Wal-hafidhina furujahum wal-hafidhat, those who protect their chastity. وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly. أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, Allah has prepared a grand reward for them. a grand reward for them. Right? So this is saying that sidq and this truthfulness, it comes in men, it comes in women as well. The third ayah, وَقَالَ تَعَالَى فَلَوْ صَدَقُوا اللَّهَ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ. And this is what I was referring to over here. If they were truthful to Allah, لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ, it would be better for them. What is this referring to? There were some Sahaba, this ayah is from Surah Muhammad. There are some Sahaba who would think to themselves, if only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reveal ayat of jihad. Because in Makkah they weren't allowed to fight, right? They had to deal with all of the torture and harassment. So they would think to themselves, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reveal ayahs of jihad, we'll go and they'll fight. And then when the ayahs were revealed, there were some people who, now they started to get a little bit nervous, right? Allah said, فَلَوْ صَدَقُوا اللَّهَ. If they were truthful to Allah in regard to what? In regard to this azam and this irada and intention and thought that they had in their heart, لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ. It would be better for them. وَأَمَّا الْأَحَادِيث. As far as the hadith. So what I'm going to do today is I will just read the hadith, translate it, then inshallah we'll go over it next week. فَالْأَوَّل. So the first is عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. And it's a famous hadith and it's a beautiful hadith. إِنَّ الصِّدْقَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْبِرِّ. Verily, truth, it guides, it leads to righteousness. وَإِنَّ الْبِرَّ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. And righteousness or piety, it leads to Jannah. وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَصْدُقُ. And a person, a man, he will display the quality of sidq. He'll be truthful in his speech, in his intentions, and he'll have ikhlas in his actions. لا يصدق حتى يكتب عند الله صديقا. Until he is written in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's considered by Allah. It's written down that this person is a siddiq. A siddiq. وَإِنَّ الْكَذِبَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْفُجُورِ. And verily, lying, it leads to criminality, transgression, fujur. وَإِنَّ الْفُجُورَ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ. And fujur is criminality, meaning criminality in regard to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, transgressing, sinning. يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ. It guides to the fire, it leads to the fire. وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَكْذِبُ. And a man will lie حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَذَّابًا. Until they're written down in the book of Allah or in the sight of Allah as a huge liar, as a kadhab. Muttafaqun alayh. This hadith is narrated by Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, and Imam Tirmidhi as well. Now, I'm not going to discuss the hadith, but I will say one thing. What is the highest rank that a person can reach in this world? What is it? A prophet, right? Nobody can be higher than a prophet. And the door to prophethood is closed, no matter how much ibadah a person does. Right? No matter how much dua a person does, no matter how sincere a person is, prophethood cannot be earned through our actions, right? It's not something that's earned. It's something that's given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the second level, right? What is it? It's being a siddiq. After nubuwah, the highest thing, the highest level, maqam that one can achieve in this world is that of a siddiq. And that's open to everybody. That is open to every single person if they just act. You can earn the title of a siddiq or a siddiqa, right? Through action. And inshallah, what actions are those? We'll talk about that next week. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to become from the siddiqeen. Inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.